What's up, guys? Onmaths here, and we're looking at fractions today. Our first question comes up from OCR. Now, I'm just going to rewrite the question here, just so we've got a slightly bigger one to explain with. Now, first thing that probably many students will do is times the tops times the bottoms. However, the important part of this question is that it says give your answer in its lowest terms. Now, that's basically hinting at the fact that you're going to have to cancel it down. And cancelling down really big numbers is going to be a real pain, especially on the non-calculator paper, which this is from. However, when you multiply fractions, you can cancel it before you multiply them. So, all we need to do is find any number from the top and any number from the bottom that will cancel. So if I take this 2 and the 22, I can divide those both by 2. So that'll leave 1 and 11. If I take this 15 and this 15, I can divide them both by 15. That'll leave 1 and 1. So all I need to do now is times the tops, 1 times 1, which is 1, times the bottoms, 1 times 11, which is 11, and that is it. So if you try to do 2 times 15 and 15 times 22, and then try to cancel it down, you could still get the right answer of 1 over 11, but how much easier is it to cancel before you multiply? Next up is our Edexcel question, and you'll notice with all these questions, I've picked them from the non-calculator paper, because on a calculator, they become very, very easy, relatively. So for this one, generally speaking, whenever I do any operations with fractions, I almost always convert them to improper fractions or top-heavy. The one exception is sometimes it might be easier when you're adding fractions to leave them as mixed numbers, and it might be easier with this one, but it's kind of 50-50. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the 2, the whole 2 and the whole 1, and I'm just going to leave those to the left hand side. Then I'm going to be focused on just adding the fractions, and you can only do this with adding. Don't try and do this with subtracting, multiplying or dividing, because it doesn't work. So you can only split up the whole numbers using this way. Right. Now we need the denominators to be the same. So we've got 7 and 4. So the lowest common multiple of 7 and 4 is going to be 28. So I need both of these to be over 28. Now to get 7 times 4 is 28, so I'm going to times the top by 4. 4 times 7 is 28, so I'm going to times the top by 7. And then when the denominators are the same, we just add the tops, add the numerators. So it'd be 11 over 28. And that's just going to be 3 and 11 28ths. For the next question, as I said, whenever you've got mixed numbers, convert them to improper, apart from sometimes when you're adding. So for this one, I'm going to have to convert the 1 and 1/5 to a top-heavy fraction. And the way of doing that is just get the whole number, the big number, times it by the bottom, then add it to the top. So what I'm going to do is just 1 times 5, which is at the bottom, is 5, add to the top, which is 6, and the denominator just stays the same, so it becomes 6 over 5. So it's 6 over 5 divided by 3 over 4. And there's a way of remembering what to do now, because you can't divide fractions, you've got to convert it into something you can do. And the method is called KFC. Keep, flip, and change. So we're going to keep that 6/5, just going to keep that as it is. We're going to change the divide to a times, and we're going to flip the second fraction. I don't know why students always remember KFC. I have no idea why. So we can actually at this point, because again the question's asked for it in its simplest form, we've learnt from the previous question that we can actually do that now. So if you have a look at the top and have a look at the bottom and see if there's any number we can cancel. So that's 6 and that 3, we can divide them both by 3. So that becomes a 2, that becomes a 1. It just means we don't need to cancel at the end. So 2 times 4, which is 8, and 5 times 1, which is 5. Now the second thing it says in the question is it wants it as a mixed number. So to convert it to a mixed number, all we need to do is ask ourselves, how many 5s go into 8? Well, 1, so it'd be 1 whole 1. And how many remainders are left over? That's 3. And again, the bottom just stays the same, so it's 1 3/5. Last up is our AQA question, and this kind of seems easy at first, and maybe it's a little bit more difficult than that. But you just need to figure out what it is we're doing. So instinctively, when I looked at this, I was like, oh, 3/5 times 162. But that's not going to give us the right answer, because it's saying 3/5 of a number is 162. Work out what the number is. So it's a slightly different question. Now, you can do this with dividing. I'm not going to take that method because I think it's a bit more difficult to explain. All I'm going to say here is if 3/5 of the number is 162, then we can find out what 1/5 of the number is. Now, 1/5 is going to be a third of 3/5, so we just need to divide it by 3. And because this is an uncalculator, we can use the bus stop method. So divide it by 3, 162. 3's into 1 don't go. 3's into 16 go 5, remainder 1. 3's into 12 go 4. So that's going to be 54. And if we know 1/5, we can then work out 5/5. And 5/5 is just a whole, so it's just the whole number. So we need to times that by 5. So do a little bit of column method. So 54 times 5. So 5 times 4 is 20. And some people put the 2 on the top, it doesn't matter. 5 times 5 is 25, plus the 2 is 27. So the answer would be 270. So, slightly shorter video today. I love these questions. These are a good range of questions and shows you all the skills about how to use fractions. I tried to avoid any of the applied questions because a lot of them involve ratios and percentages and decimals, which we'll do at a later point. But if you found this video useful, please click like. If you want to see more from us, we release videos every single day, Monday to Friday. And just click subscribe, make sure you're up to date with it. We also have a website, onmaths.com, which I'm sure will appear at the top of the screen. Loads and loads of free resources. Everything on there is completely free, just to help you prepare for your maths going forward. Thank you very much.